Hi guys, I wanted to go over some of the other inflections we'll talk about in the morphology chapter in relation to some of the irregular verbs and nouns and adjectives that we have in English. So we're going to focus on the two processes of internal change or replacement, two different labels for the same thing, plus suppletion. And we'll look to see how that works for English with our different kinds of verbs and nouns and adjectives in English. So we have our regular inflections in English that we've already looked at. And for English, we mark regular inflection with the process of affixation. And if you remember from our sheets, we have 8 inflectional suffixes in English. So it's always suffixes that mark inflection. We have our 2 noun inflections, the plural S and the possessive apostrophe S, like the dog's plural or the dog's bone possessive. We have our 4 verb suffixes, the third person singular agreement marker S on the end, like the dog runs, showing that the dog is third person singular and that we're not talking about an event in the past. We have our ing, which we call the present participle, which works in conjunction with the auxiliary verb to be, and it shows that an event is ongoing through time. We have our past tense ed to show an event is in the past, like the dog jumped. We have our past participle, which has 2 different forms in English, an ed or an en. It depends on the verb. The past participle is always used in conjunction with an auxiliary verb. So, for example, here we have the perfect tense marked with the auxiliary verb to have, and then the past participle form of the verb, which means the interpretation for that is that the event is completed prior to some other event. And then we have our 2 adjective inflections, the comparative and the superlative. For adjectives that are 1 or 2 syllables long, we can show the utmost in a situation of comparison of 2 things with the comparative or the utmost in a situation of comparison of more than 2 things with the superlative est. So that's our regular inflection in English. But in English, we also have quite a few irregular verbs and nouns and adjectives. We have situations like a plural that is not just adding an S on the end, right? We don't say 1 tooth, 2 tooths. Instead, we say 2 teeth. So we change the word around. Same kind of idea with our verb tenses. We don't just add ed on the end of run and go to say I runned or I goed. Instead, we change those forms around. And for our adjectives, same kind of idea. We don't just put an on the end all the time. We don't say good, gooder. Instead, we say good and better. So we want to explore what's going on with some of these irregular cases. So the first process we're going to look at is this one called internal change or replacement. As the name suggests, we are changing something internal to the word. We are changing a non-morphemic part, so a piece that doesn't have meaning by itself, to mark this inflectional distinction. Sometimes it's also called replacement because we are replacing a sound within the word with another sound. For English, it's usually a vowel that gets replaced. So we change a vowel inside the word, and then we mark that inflectional distinction with the changing of the vowel. So we go from an oo to an e and tooth to teeth. We go from an to an e from when we go from foot to feet. We also have something similar going on with our verb tenses, where some of the verbs in English actually have a 3-way distinction between the non-past, which is what you would think of as the present tense, although it's a more precise way to describe it as non-past tense. Then we have the past tense, and then we have the perfect tense. And the perfect tense is the one that comes we use it in conjunction with the auxiliary verb to have, and it marks the event as completed prior to some other event. So we get these trio forms like sing, sang, sung. Today I sang, yesterday I sang, I've already sung, and swim, swam, swum. That kind of idea. The other inflectional process that marks irregular inflections in English is one we call suppletion. And suppletion is an even more radical shift because here we are changing the form entirely. We are replacing one form with an entirely different form. So the end result is the 2 forms do not look like each other at all. There's no resemblance between them. Well, the noun example, there's a little bit of overlap because the initial, the onset of the first syllable is the same, so the p is the same. But the rest of those 2 words are entirely different, person to people, right? There's nothing overlapping apart from the P in the first position. We have suppletion happening with our verbs. A verb like go in the non-past becomes went in the past. And those forms do not look like each other whatsoever. A form like be actually has lots of different suppletive forms, depending on who the subject is of the sentence and whether or not we're talking about the non-past or past. So if it's non-past, we would use am, is, are, depending on who the subject is. I am, she is, you are. And then we would use was or were if we're talking about past tense. She was, we were. Again, it depends on the subject. We also have our adjective case of the suppletion with the good and the bad, where we don't say good, gooder, bad, badder. We say good, better, bad, worse, where those forms do not resemble each other at all. So with all this craziness of English, with all our irregular verbs, it is very tricky to know sometimes what is the proper, from a prescriptivist perspective, what is the proper way to inflect a certain verb or noun. Let's just focus on verbs for now. And really, it doesn't seem to be a really strict way to determine. There's no real patterns. So you kind of just have to know what is the proper past or past participle form of the verb. So if you're a native speaker, it's kind of easy-ish. You just kind of know what I'm supposed to say. Although not all native speakers will know all of the forms, in which case the native speaker will probably avoid it. So, for example, if a native speaker was talking and they said, "I'm a good swimmer, I've already swum," and they didn't know what the past participle form was, they might say, "I'm a good swimmer, I've already completed that distance," and they kind of talk around it and avoid it. So now we're going to do a little test of your linguistic competence. So if you are a native speaker, you will tap into your native speaker intuition, and just whatever comes out of your mouth could potentially be the correct form. If you're not a native speaker, you may have to kind of deliberately think back to when you learned these forms. But what I want to demonstrate here is that a lot of these forms are used so infrequently that we've kind of lost touch with what the correct forms are. So even the native speakers may have a lot of trouble remembering the forms for some of these verbs. So what I'm going to do is we'll keep this template, and I'm going to set you up with some verbs. And I'm going to put the verb into the first slot there, and then you finish it by saying what are the forms in the next two slots. So, for example, we'll start with go, which we should all know, I think, because it's such a high frequency verb. So I will say, today I go, and then yesterday I, and you fill in the blank. I have already, and then you fill in the blank. So I say, today I go, and then yesterday I, and you say went, and then I say, I have already, and you say gone. So go, went, gone are the three forms for go. Okay, so let's try the next one. Today I am. Yesterday I have already. So here we have a case of suppletion. Today I am. Yesterday I was. Am and was don't look anything like be. I have already been. So then we get back to the be form there. Okay, moving along. Today I eat. Yesterday I have already. So I'm starting you off with a few easy ones, high frequency ones. Today I eat. Yesterday I ate. I've already eaten. Yeah. How about today I write? Yesterday I've already. Again, a fairly high frequency one. Today I write. Yesterday I wrote. I've already written for that one. Today I fly. Yesterday I've already. Here's another easy one. Today I fly. Yesterday I flew. I have already flown. Today I sing. Yesterday I've already. So I already used this one earlier. Today I sing. Yesterday I sang. I've already sung. How about this one though? Today I sting. Yesterday I have already. Because I just did sing, you might want to say yesterday I sang, which we know is not right, and then it sounds weird. I think the correct forms would be today I sting, yesterday I stung, and I have already stung, where the past tense and perfect tense forms are exactly the same. How about this one? Today I bring, yesterday I've already. Occasionally people want to also say today I bring, brang, brung, because they are thinking about sing, sang, sung. but it would be today I bring, yesterday I brought, I have already brought. I think those two would be the same, the last two. Same. How about today I sneak? Yesterday I have already. What are you putting in those forms? For English speakers, these are variable. Some people say today I sneak, yesterday I snuck. I have already snuck. And some people say today I sneak, yesterday I sneaked. And then I'm not sure. I've already snuck maybe, or I've already sneaked. I don't even know that one. I lose my intuitions on these things sometimes. How about today I dive, yesterday I've already. So usually students are good with the past tense. Today I dive, yesterday I dove, but it's the perfect tense form, the past participle form. I have already, and sometimes you might want to say divin. And the reason, I think I might know why you want to say divin. But we know divin's not right. It sounds really weird. But today I dive, yesterday I dove. I have already dived. I think dived is the correct perfect tense form. But this is why you probably were inclined to say divin. Today I drive, yesterday I drove, I have already driven, right? It's the driven form there that that kind of biases us to want to say divin. How about today I drink, yesterday I have already. This one's a little tricky sometimes. I think it's just kind of lower frequency ones, but today I drink, yesterday I drank, I have already drunk. I think though that's the correct form there. How about today I get, yesterday I have already. So for this one, sometimes there's variation. Today I get, yesterday I got, and then I have already. Some people say I've already got, and some people say I've already gotten. So that's a form for both. How about with this one, there's very less variability. Today I forget, yesterday I've already. Today I forget, yesterday I forgot, I've already forgotten. This one usually everybody does that on that one. Okay, almost done. Today I put, yesterday I have already. So this could be one of the weirdest ones. It's not hard because it's a high frequency one, but it's a weird one because a verb like put does not change. There's no inflection marked on put at all. Today I put, yesterday I put, I've already put. And in fact, we have a bunch of words, of verbs in English, and they almost all of them are one syllable long and they end in T, where we never change the form. We don't mark it for past or the past participle form, so perfect tense. So verbs like cut and set and bet and hit and let and cost and hurt and quit and shut and split are all forms that don't change when we there's no marking of inflection to mark the change of tense on these words. My message to you is, with all this craziness of English, and hopefully you get a sense of some of this craziness in this exercise, it's just another reason to be kind and graceful to a non-native speaker in your lives, because this crazy language is really tricky. So if you're a native speaker, I guess you can just be grateful for that. Okay, that's all. Bye.